Good afternoon. Jeff Dawson, Amazon author of Irving Titans, the Baseball Coaching Manual, Little League to High School, Volumes 1 and 2, of which are very appropriate for today's topic. A few days ago, was chatting with one of my good friends, Mr. Lee Stewart. He had a illustrious college career. He was drafted by University of North Texas, received a scholarship, played, I believe, 2 years, got injured, stayed on, received his degree in economics, and has been a very excellent addition to American society, and he's black. He brought up a topic that I haven't heard any of the social warriors on ESPN or MLB or any other news agency that claims to always be in the know, and that they have the scoop. They're on top of all issues that will interest their viewers or their readers. Lee brought up one that none of them have broached, and I'm guessing they haven't broached it because there's going to be a hell of a lot of accountability. So what could I be talking about? And if my smoking offends you, I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I don't when I do. I'm going to give some names here. Mike Gundy. If some of you aren't familiar with him, he is the head coach of Oklahoma State University, and yes, that's their logo on the back of the wall. He made the papers and the press about 4 weeks ago because he wore an OAN shirt. How many of you know what OAN stands for? If you're on Facebook, if you're a conservative, and possibly even if you're a liberal, you know who that is. Chuba Hubbard saw that Mike Gundy was wearing this shirt on a fishing trip with his sons on his own time, and the shit hit the fan. One American News Network. Okay. So what? Well, Hubbard has a fit, and everyone blows this out of proportion. So Gundy has to have this big press conference, and Hubbard apologizes for what he said, and Gundy says he'll do better and he'll make changes. And then there was an article yesterday that Mike Gundy is going to be more involved with all the players. You've been the head coach for 10 years. Have you not already been involved with your players? I think you and your coaching staff would have to be involved because you went out and recruited these guys. You're the one that figured out if they're first string, second string, or third string. You figured out if they're going to be starters or red shirts. How much more do you want them to know about their players? We're going to get to that in a minute. Here's some other names that have been in the news, some making profound, absolutely profound statements of coming together and making change and understanding everyone's feelings and where they're from and blah, 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 blah. And you have Coach K, basketball coach for Duke. Oh, he comes out with his social warrior play. What about Howard Schellenberger? Anybody remember him? When he went to OU, they called him Captain Kangaroo because he wore this red blazer, and yes, he actually did look like him. He was at the University of Miami. He's the one that put the University of Miami on the national face. He made them a powerhouse. He was one of the first to proclaim to all that he would focus on recruiting from the inner city. You have Barry Switzer, Darrell Royal, Lou Holtz, Jimmy Johnson, Tom Herman. Now, I could spend 30 minutes listing all of the coaches of the top 50 Division I teams. But I don't need to do that because they all do the same thing every year. They want to recruit the best players they are. The alumni wants them to recruit the best players they can so that they can win their division, they can win the championship, they can go on to a bowl game, and if they're really good, like OU, LSU, Ohio State, you get to go to the show. You get to be in the Final Four. And you are going to bring hundreds of thousands, if not tens of millions of dollars flowing in to the coffers of the universities you so proudly hail. There's nothing wrong with that. But then look at what these coaches make. I'm not going to bore you with those details. Do a Google search, whichever search engine you want to, and find out the top 10 NCAA coaches and what their salaries are. And while you're looking at it, remember, they're only coaching a game. Last time I looked, I believe Nick Saban's making $7.2 to $8 million a year coaching football. Mike Gundy, I believe he's making $4.5 million a year. He's coaching football. About 5 or 6 years ago, I did a search to see if I could find out how much the universities are making off of their football program. And what struck me the most was the University of Alabama. They brought in $100 million. They have an operating cost of $20 million. That leaves them with a net profit of $80 million, which is damn near enough money to take every student in the University of Alabama and put them on a full ride scholarship. What do you think about that? So throw in University of Miami, Florida, Florida State, LSU, Texas Tech, Baylor, Oklahoma State, OU, Nebraska, K-State, UCLA, Stanford. You get the drift. Ohio State, Michigan. You get the drift. All these institutions of higher learning are making a killing off of football. Now, the last time we really heard about this was from the Fab Five basketball players at the University of Michigan, and then they got caught up in this pay-for-play scandal, and they stripped down the banners and all this stuff. It was just a bunch of crap because the university didn't have to give any money back. So let me get back on football. These organizations, these corporations, because that's exactly what they are now. They are not universities of higher learning. They have become sports corporations. And this is what Lee brought up. They all came out. Some of the ones that I mentioned about being a social warrior and we're going to make change and things are going to get better and we're going to understand each other. He pointed out where they've been for the last 30 years. Why now? Why the change? They are the ones going into these poverty-stricken neighborhoods and communities. They see firsthand how these kids are living. And what have they done? Well, think of the movie Bad Boys. You remember the scene where one of the kids has gotten drafted. He's going to sign with a university. He's going to get out. It's a neighborhood riddled with crime. Drive-bys are nothing. One of the characters is in a wheelchair because he got shot in a drive-by. They're doing drugs. They're drinking alcohol. They have no future. But this one kid is going to get out. But due to a disagreement, which when you got down to it was pointless, is about, well, this is my street and this is your street and blah, 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 he winds up getting shot and killed. Cuban Gooding Jr. is also in the movie. And he does get out. But he almost gets sucked down the same rat hole. Because he wants revenge for his friend being shot and killed. The coaches came to this neighborhood. They saw the conditions. Do they care? No. All they care about is recruiting this player so their team will be better and they will benefit through ratings and TV contracts on how much more money comes into the program and they and their staffs are going to make. If that kid would have made the squad and gotten hurt, yes, they would have paid for his surgery and his rehab. But since he can't play football anymore, or basketball, or baseball, or soccer, where's he going? He's going back home. He's going back into the same neighborhood that they recruited him from with no hope. No chance for a future. Maybe a menial job. But the point is, you have these universities, you have these coaches, they go into these neighborhoods, they see what's going on in the neighborhoods, and what do they do about it? They don't do a damn thing. Zero. So when are the coaches going to be held accountable and the universities held accountable? If you're going to come into these neighborhoods and recruit our kids and give us these visions of doing great things with their life, where are you going to be? Marcus Dupree is a perfect example. The runner that never was. Comes from Philadelphia, Mississippi. Black neighborhood. Not very affluent. Living on the poverty line. But the living goes to OU. Gets crossed with Barry Switzer. Gets tied up with the wrong reverend who's going to help Marcus reach his Mecca. They enroll him in another university in Mississippi. I forgot the name. He never plays there. He doesn't enroll, and he is drafted by the team in New Orleans with the USFL. And then he gets hurt. It's a horrendous injury. There's a 30-34 episode on that, and they've got it. I mean, his knee, he gets hit, his leg is planted, and his knee was supposed to go like this, it makes a U, so the whole thing collapses and falls back. Man, if you thought watching Joe Theismann's compound leg fracture from Lawrence Taylor was bad, watch when Marcus got hit and crushed him. His career ends. What's his neighborhood look like? The same. His mom did get a new house. She got a double-wide trailer, I believe. What'd the rest of the neighborhood get? 0. You want change? You guys have the money. Or what's the word today? You have the resources. No, you got the cash. You coaches have the cash. You have no problem going into these neighborhoods and hand-picking what you want. And then you turn your back on it and say, well, that's not our problem. Well, whose problem is it? Well, that's the city's problem. And the city says, no, it's a county problem. And the county says, no, it's a state problem. And the state says, no, it's a federal government. So when you get down to it, nobody wants to be accountable, and nobody wants to take a damn stand, and nobody wants to do a damn thing about it except bitch, 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 and say the federal government needs to give us more money, or the state needs to raise more taxes. And what the hell are you raising them for? Because in some of these states, the taxes are astronomical to begin with, and you still have these poverty-stricken neighborhoods. I've lived in the city of Dallas since '84. I've heard the same shit from politicians, what they're going to do with South and West Dallas for 30 years, and what have they done? 0. They haven't done a damn thing. Nothing has been improved. Nothing. They say it has. The only improvements are coming from private investors. It doesn't matter how many tens of millions of dollars flows into the city of Dallas and their housing division, because they just wind up under investigation for embezzlement and fraud and a host of other charges. Hell, the FBI has been looking into them twice since I've lived here, and the books are so screwed up they can't figure it out. Well, the cities don't know what to do with their money. We see this on the news every day, every week, every month, and then you have, especially with this election coming up. Oh, we hear about the schools. Oh, we hear about the poor. Oh, blah, blah, blah. To date, the federal government has spent $22.5 trillion on the fight against poverty. And what's it gotten? Nothing. 0. Where the hell's all this money going to? It's ridiculous. So the cities, the counties, and the states have proven they are inept. They don't know what they're doing. Their politicians are morons because they were elected by morons. Well, here we have these colleges with a massive war chest. I mean, between Dallas and Fort Worth, you have SMU and TCU. These are extremely wealthy schools. What have they done for the impoverished areas of the city of Dallas? Now, granted, SMU is in Highland University Park, which is an extremely exclusive neighborhood. Well, yippee-ki-yay. You draft players from South Dallas. So when are you going to start helping And it is your problem. This is, as everybody wants to use the word, community. That's your community. You might not live down there, but you don't have a problem going down there and picking the top talent to advance the position of your university. You can put together organizations. One, I'm not talking about a nonprofit where you have 5 officers, they bring in $10 million, and then $500,000 goes to what you set the nonprofit up for. Because you always hear the rest of it goes to administrative costs. What fucking administrative costs do you have? Zero. You have set this up as a scam. And I saw this firsthand. Now, maybe it has changed. But in the city of Dallas, they had a thing called Little Heroes Baseball. It was set up by Madonna with the Stars. The whole intent was to bring baseball to the poor parts of Dallas. And they needed umpires. It was a great idea. At the end of the season, they would have this big celebrity party up in Frisco at the Rough Riders Stadium to thank and congratulate everyone that attributed to it. And it was a who's who of celebrities at this game. So if you're with the press and you're watching, look at all of these people that are involved in it. Let me tell you how involved they were not with it. The coaches didn't have a clue. The guy they put in charge of the Little Heroes when I was calling games wound up fleecing a ton of cash. These kids had no transportation to the game. They had no equipment to the game. The fields we played on would have been better played out in a cow pasture that hadn't been brush hogged. They were horrible. Absolutely horrible in some of the worst parts of Dallas. The coaches didn't know the rule book. The players didn't know the rules. The players didn't even know what a baseball looked like. Yet they raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. For what? Because these kids sure the hell weren't learning how to play the game. Yes, a select few got invited to the big show at the end of the season. And like I said, you had sponsors there. Umpires got new gear. There were shoes. There were bats. There was equipment. There wasn't a damn thing for the kids. I called in that league 2 years and got so disgusted. I said, I'm done. I'm out. This is appalling. So we don't need a big board. You don't need a big commission. You do what J.J. Watt did when he raised $20 million for the residents of Houston after Hurricane Harvey wiped them out. He raised the money, and he handled the money, making sure it went to those in need and not those who didn't have a need but wanted it to be their need. He took action. He stepped up to the plate. Well, by God, that's what you Division I coaches and universities need to do. Get off your dead ass. Get out from in front of the cameras. These areas that you're recruiting, you get with the community leaders. You find out what they need, and by God, you take action. You don't turn it over to a board. You don't give them a blank check. You do what the cities won't do. Do you know how long it takes to flatten an abandoned, meth, rat-infested house in the city of Dallas? About 120 days for the city to do it. 120. Because they have to go through a bidding process. And they've got to go through all the paperwork. And I'm a contractor, so I understand the paperwork that is required to do a city job. And you don't streamline it because the bureaucracy is so ridiculous. Most of the people involved in it couldn't pull their head out if you gave them written instructions with a toilet plunger. They don't know what to do because they're ignorant. So, you take action. I don't want to hear any more talk, because that's all we're getting. Everybody's going to make a big show. Everybody's going to be on TV. Everybody's going to be holding hands. Everybody's going to be taking a knee. And you know what's going to happen when it's all said and done? It's not going to do a damn bit of good, because the communities where these people live are still going to be poverty-stricken with no jobs, no future, nada, zero, nix. You got it? You coaches and you universities are now going to be held accountable for real action, not lip service, not memos, not decrees, not more protocols, not singing Kumbaya and holding hands around the campfire making s'mores. That shit will not fly. Waving flags is not going to change anything. It is time for you all to get off your asses, get with the program, and start helping the communities that you have no problem stripping their finest assets and then throwing them away. You get with the community leaders. You drive through the neighborhoods. Oh, God, you might have to hire some more people. Well, you got the money, so don't bitch about that. If Jimmy Carter, politics aside, at 90 can go out and swing a hammer for Habitat of Humanity, well, I think you guys could do a little better, because most of you are in your 40s and 50s, and your assistants are younger than that. So you might not be able to watch all of that important, valuable film from the next team you're playing. You might actually be out in the community helping to make a change. What a novel idea! We are going to take action. We are going to be responsible. The last good thing we heard, other than J.J. Watt, was when that devastating tornado ripped through, damn it. What's the town the University of Alabama's in? Yeah, I got to look it up now. Damn it, I can't even spell university. I'm going to kick myself in the ass when I realize where this is. Tuscaloosa. God, pull your head out, Jeff. The players from Auburn, the coach called them up and said, we're going to go down and help Tuscaloosa. It was a devastating F5 tornado, and many of you, I'm sure, remember that, especially you Alabama fans. Now, how long did they stay there? I don't recall. I'd have to look it up. But they actually took action. Well, that's what more needs to be done. You get a coach, you get an assistant coach, you go into an area where you're recruiting, and you drive that neighborhood. See what their school looks like. See what the houses look like. See how many are abandoned. You make notes. You take pictures. You interview the player, and then you interview the council people, whoever's in charge of that district. What do you need? This is what I'm going to do. This is what our university is going to do. You need 2 houses knocked down? We'll do it right now. But we're going to take care of it. You don't have to worry about the bidding process. will handle it. We see buildings out here in disrepair. What do you need? Do you need those redone? Would you like them redone? We will take care of that. Yeah, that means your universities are going to become a general contractor to a degree. So what? You talk about your players learning new schemes, new ideas, new philosophies. Well, hey, it's time you did the same. You've got the money. You got the resources. So now it's time, instead of taking and taking and taking, it is time for you to get together and start giving back. There's an old saying, actions speak louder than words. Now, how many of you universities and coaches are willing to make real change and be accountable for your actions? We'll wait and see. And if you don't, you will be hearing from us again. When your stadiums are half full and the viewer audience drops precipitously because you won't take action.